After falling off a cliff and losing my memory, I was rescued by a wealthy merchant named Yi Jinyu. Despite my unknown identity, he doted on me, loved me, and married me. After my fifth miscarriage, I was about to tell him the good news of another pregnancy when lines of text floated before my eyes. Danmaku saying that my miscarriages were all caused by the male lead, that he had taken me by force, and that I originally had a husband. The Danmaku also said the male lead had arranged my fake death because Suru or Yuo liked my husband, that an accident caused me to lose my memory. I suppressed my turbulent thoughts and went to Zi Jinyu's study, where I overheard him talking with his guard. The guard said saffron had been added to my pregnancy-preserving medicine, and the doctor said if I miscarried again, I might never bear children. Zi Jinyu's voice was restrained now that Ruo Yuo had married into the Lin family and was pregnant, and Lin Jieyan had accepted her. This critical moment couldn't afford any mistakes. As for Sui Xiao, it didn't matter whether she had children or not, he would take care of her for life. He also warned the guard not to call him young Marquis here. My mind buzzed. I could barely stand. 3 years ago, I had fallen off a cliff and lost my memory, and he had appeared like a god to rescue me. He had searched everywhere for famous doctors to cure my amnesia, though my memory never returned. I was moved by his devotion and agreed to marry him. Over these 3 years, I had been pregnant again and again, only to miscarry each time. He thought it was because of my weakened body from the fall and never complained, but I never imagined that the children I lost again and again were killed by his own hands. I went back to my room in a daze and accidentally knocked over a cup. He rushed in, stepped on the broken porcelain as if he felt no pain, and carried me to bed. He personally took off my shoes and socks to check for cuts, then ordered the servants to bring my pregnancy-preserving medicine. I said the medicine was too bitter and didn't want to drink it. He said it was prescribed by a divine doctor and was very good for me, that we had already lost 5 children and had to protect this one. He half coaxed, half forced the medicine to my lips. The bitter liquid slid down my throat, chilling me to the core. I had a long dream. In the dream, I was Su Xiao, the legitimate daughter of a low-ranking official, married to Lin Jiayan, the richest man in the region. We lived in harmony. My half-sister Suru or Yuo always followed me sweetly, calling me GCG. One day she saved a seriously injured man who called himself Jinyu. After he recovered, he left without saying goodbye. Soon after, Ruo Yuo fell ill, and I asked my husband to deliver medicine to her. After a few visits, he refused, saying he needed to avoid suspicion. On the day I left, I went to the mountaintop as usual to pray. In an instant, my mater stands disappeared, and a powerful force shoved me off the cliff. As I fell, I turned my head and saw his face, the same Jinyu that Ruo Yuo had saved, who had mysteriously disappeared, and who was now Zi Jinyu, sleeping beside me every night. I woke up screaming, only to find I had been unconscious for 3 days and nights. The doctor said I had lost too much blood and would probably never bear children again. He acted as if he was hearing it for the first time, his face pale, his eyes full of shock and pain. He gently held me in his arms and said that even without children, he would still love me and take care of me for life. Late that night, he murmured in his sleep, "Ruo Yuo, don't be afraid. I will help you find happiness." So his love at first sight, his devotion, it was all a lie, premeditated. 2 months passed, and I had mostly recovered. That day, I dressed carefully and put on a moon-white dress. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. He pulled me into his arms and lowered his head to kiss me. I pushed him away and insisted he drink some soup first. I watched him drink the entire bowl of medicated broth I had laced with sleeping herbs. He carried me to bed impatiently, but just as he was about to lower himself onto me, he went limp and lost consciousness. I quickly took the residence pass from his waist, left a few messy footprints on the windowsill and in the dirt, and hid under the bed. When he woke up and found me gone, his guards reported that I had escaped through the window. He examined the scene briefly, a knowing and mocking look in his eyes, and sent them to search. alone in the room. He sighed softly, saying, Xiao Xiao, why did you leave? Come back, and I'll pretend tonight never happened. Then his footsteps faded, and the door clicked shut. I carefully crawled out from under the bed. Just as I stood up, a figure blocked my path he had never left. He laughed mockingly, pulled me into his arms, and said that after 3 years of sharing a bed, if we weren't husband and wife, what were we? I raised my hand and slapped his face. I said my husband was Lin Jiayan, and he had destroyed my life. He said Su Xiao had died when she fell off that cliff 3 years ago. The woman beside Lin Jiayu, devoted and gentle. They had been married for over a year. And Su Ru, or Yu was just diagnosed with a pregnancy. The Lin family treasured her. Countless memories pierced my mind like shards of ice. I remembered everything. After that, his watch over me grew even tighter. I stopped speaking, stopped eating, stopped drinking. I was like a doll without a soul. A month later, his patience ran out. He demanded to know what I wanted. I said I wanted to see my father. He agreed. When my father arrived, I threw myself at him and begged him to take me away. Instead, he shouted at me, saying the young marquis was of noble status and it was my great fortune that he fancied me. I said he had faked my death and turned me from the legitimate mistress of the Lin family into a hidden mistress. He said the past was the past, that Lin Jiayan had already married Zhu or Yuo, and if I ran away, I would ruin my sister's marriage and disgrace both families. The best thing was for me to stay here quietly and serve the young marquis. Dan Maku appeared, telling me that the male lead had promised my father a promotion if he could make me behave. Before leaving, my father even told Zi Jinyu not to go easy on me, lock me in the storeroom, starve me, beat me a few times, and I'd fall in line. Then he left without looking back. Commotion came from the courtyard. Su Ru or Yuo and Lin Jiayan had arrived. Ru or Yuo's belly was slightly swollen, and she clung to Lin Jiayan's arm. When Lin Jiayan saw me, he said dreamily that he hadn't stopped thinking about me for a single day in 3 years. That Ru or Yuo was just a shadow of me. Dan Maku told me that the very next day after I disappeared, he got drunk and slept with Ru or Yuo. Worse still, he had known about my fall from the beginning and was part of it. I asked if he knew everything. His face went pale, and he said the young marquis was too powerful to resist. Ru or Yuo held on to him, taunting me, saying men like gentle, understanding women, unlike me who always acted like a high-born lady. She lowered her voice. Father wanted advancement, Jiayan wanted wealth and status, and even the young marquis had only approached me because he wanted to help her win Jiayan's heart. She looked at me with pity and said, word by word, Ji, you have lived such a failure of a life. I couldn't hold back. I raised my hand to slap her. She acted as if she expected it, cried out, and fell backward. He caught her securely and shouted at me, demanding to know if I had lost my mind, saying she was pregnant. Dan Maku cursed him for being blind and not seeing that she had faked her fall. In that moment, I understood completely my father, my sister, my former husband, and this man who claimed to love men, one of them were sincere. I quietly tried to circulate my qi and was surprised to feel a faint flow in my Dian. My mother had taught me martial arts when I was young, and my fall had crippled me, but now it seemed to be recovering. I asked him to let them stay the night, and he agreed. A guard knocked and said the young mistress had arrived. He ordered all the guards to intercept her and said he would return in the morning. After they left, he fixed his clothes and came to embrace me with tender affection. Instead of resisting, I asked him to carry me to bed. He did, and just as he leaned over me, I pulled the scissors from under my pillow and stabbed them into his lower abdomen with all my strength. He grunted in shock, but he was a martial artist. As I tried to pull the scissors out to strike again, he grabbed my wrist. Then came a knock at the door. It was my father's voice. Desperate, I shoved him, and his head struck the bed frame, knocking him unconscious. I dragged him under the bed, covered the blood with a blanket, and tore off a strip of cloth to gag him. I opened the door, My father walked in and began complaining that the young Marquis had only arranged a minor promotion for him. He wanted me to ask for a higher rank. Dan Maku appeared, telling me that my mother had done everything for him, used her dowry to advance his career. But he had taken a mistress, poisoned my mother during her second pregnancy, and killed her and her unborn child. I stared at him and demanded to know if he had killed my mother. He said she deserved it. She had only given his mistress the status of concubine, not co-wife, because she looked down on her low birth. Her death was retribution. Hatred, anger, and despair reached their peak. I turned, tore down a decorative string of beads, and wrapped it around his neck. I pulled with all my strength. After a long while, his body went limp. Another knock. It was Ruo bringing bird's nest soup. I opened the door. She walked in and began mocking me, saying I didn't even have a proper status. I asked if she had any shame, stealing her own sister's husband. She touched her belly and said that once she bore a son, the entire Lin family would be hers, while I was just a woman who couldn't even produce a child. She said she would never accept that I had everything while she had nothing, that she would take everything from me. Then she remembered something. Do you know why father suddenly killed your mother? It was your fault. She could have lived another year or two, but you wanted to get pregnant to secure your position. The only way to stop you was to kill your mother, because in mourning, you couldn't have children. You pushed her to her death. Rage flooded my head. It pulled his sword from its hook on the wall and thrust it into her chest. She fell. I dragged her body under the bed. Another knock. En. I let him in and asked, if Si Jinyu abandoned me one day, what would he do? He said he would find me a quiet house outside the city and give me enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life. I said, you want me to be your hidden mistress? He said it wasn't like that. But Ruo was the mistress of the Lin household now, and everyone knew me there. It would be awkward for everyone. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. Then I struck. The blade pierced his chest cleanly. A violent commotion came from under the bed. He had broken free and crawled out from under the corpses. He picked up the sword and lunged at me. I felt strangely calm. If I died by his hand, perhaps that was fitting. Suddenly, the door was kicked open with tremendous force. The door slammed into him, and the sword in his hand pierced his own chest. He collapsed. A woman in riding clothes, with striking, determined features entered, followed by his guards. Her gaze swept across the carnage and paused. She looked at Ruo's body under the bed and asked if she was Si Jinyu's mistress. I said yes. She asked about the two men. I said they were her father and her husband. She nodded thoughtfully and said that surely Si Jinyu had taken a fancy to the pregnant mistress. Her father and husband had come to confront him. A fight had broken out, and they had all killed each other. She asked me if that was how it happened. I understood what she was getting at and said yes. She nodded with satisfaction, took a heavy money pouch from her sleeve, pressed it into my hands, and told me to leave the capital and never return. I clutched the pouch, held deeply to her, and walked away. I went to a quiet, secluded town in Jiangdan, a small courtyard with a garden, and there I grew flowers, brewed tea, read books, and painted. The love and hatred of the past faded like watercolors in the damp mist. The deep scar in my heart slowly healed with the passing of time. New life, it turns out, can bloom quietly among ruins.